everybody. This is Miss Clemmy, and sorry I can't be here today. I'm at a different school just outside of Chicago trying to figure out how to be even more awesome teacher. But if you follow along with this video, I think it'll be pretty easy to carry along with me not there. So you guys should have a half sheet. If you don't, make sure that those get handed out. And we're going to start the timer. I won't start it on here. But I will have you guys pause the video, and at this time, I'm going to give you about 6 minutes to complete this half sheet on your own. Good luck. All right, we're back. So you should have this done because it's going to really prepare you best for the test, or excuse me, the quiz in a few minutes. So let's see what you have. So if I were to call on, say, let's see, Christian in the back, Christian would tell me the amount of chromosomes in each of these cells, and of course he would say that they would be 46, and this cell would also be 46. And then I'd say, well, Christian, wait, you're actually missing one. And then he would say, oh yeah, that's right. All of the chromosomes in baby cells are also 46. And then I would maybe call on, who's over there? Evie over there in the corner, and she would say, well, these are special cells with half the amount of chromosomes, and she would call them by their actual name. She would say, oh, they're gametes. The gametes only have 23 chromosomes. And I would say, very good, Evie. And then right in the front, yeah, Chance, I'd call on her and I'd say, Chance, what's this process where we cut the chromosome amount in half? And she would say, meiosis. Right, Chance? Yeah. Now remember, as good students, you guys, if you don't have this written down, it should be written down. So what I write down, you guys write down. So let's keep going. And then I would probably ask Nick the next question. I'd say, Nick, what's that process where we combine sperm and egg? And he would say, well, of course, that's fertilization. And then I'd maybe ask Zach this last question. I'd say, Zach, what is this process where we take one cell of the new baby and have many cells? And he said, well, of course, that's mitosis. What else would it be? Now, when I tend to think of these, I tend to think of keywords. So I'm going to put a little box around here. The key word for meiosis is half, or cutting the chromosomes in half. The key word I like to remember for fertilization is join. Sperm and egg gametes join together to make a baby. And the key word for mitosis, you can probably guess it. For me, I think of the word grow. So I hope those help you when you take the quiz. Now the last thing on the bell work are the bonus questions. And I think these are super important because they all hope to answer the question of why. Why are these steps important? Why is meiosis important? Why is fertilization important? Why is mitosis important? So if we look at meiosis, why is meiosis important? Well, let me think about that. Stephen, I don't know if he knows, or Christian, or Cameron. Maybe he knows. But I know the answer. So check your work. Why is meiosis important? We don't want the baby to have too many chromosomes. We want the baby to have just the right amount. We want them to have 46. So if we didn't cut these in half, baby would have way too many chromosomes. So that's a pretty important reason to have meiosis. The next bonus question is fertilization. So why is fertilization important? Well, we have to make a baby somehow, and so fertilization ensures that we make the baby. And finally, mitosis. Why is it so important? Well, this key word up here gives it away. How are we going to grow? And it's a pretty important task. You never stop doing mitosis, ever. Okay? So that's a little review for the meiosis quiz. Now, what I'd like you to do is flip over your sheet of paper, and if you are in Chance's row and everyone to her right, I'd like you to jot down the 3 words in red on your half sheet on the back. Jot down the word meiosis, gamete, and haploid. Sorry about that. You guys are going to write one sentence that uses all 3 words. Okay? Use the diagram up here. Use your notes. Remember, this is a new word that we just learned last class. So pull those out and see if you can't write a good BP sentence. Now, everybody else in the room, you guys are going to have 3 different words. You're going to have diploid, meiosis, and haploid. Okay? And again, we have this picture. Same one as the other slide from before. Now I'd like you guys to pause the video and take 4 to 5 minutes and write a great sentence. When time's up, I'd like you to find a partner and share those sentences. And some of you can share them out loud if you think they're awesome, awesome sentences. If Sarah or Mr. Hanson thinks they're great sentences, let's share them out loud for the whole class to hear. Pause it and good luck. All right, we're back. I hope those sentences were a little challenging, but that you learned something from them and that you can use those now to your advantage. So, just to recap one last time, what's the difference between haploid and diploid? I like to think of haploid, where's my marker? Haploid is half the amount of chromosomes as the original, so and diploid would be twice as much. Diploid, double. So we look here, so these are regular body cells. And these body cells have 46. They have 2 full sets of chromosomes, so we refer to them as diploid. These are haploid. They're egg and sperm or gametes, and still haploid, but our baby is diploid because they have 2 sets of chromosomes, one set from mom and the other set from dad, equaling 46. The only cells in your body that are haploid are sperm cells or egg cells. Okay? So remember haploid and diploid. That's an adjective we use to describe how many chromosomes are in a cell. Okay? So, again, diploid, if I draw this little simplified picture, we're going to have a quiz on meiosis. Meiosis is a cell division that creates these special gametes, sperm cells and egg cells, from regular body cells, regular diploid body cells. And in order to do that, we cut the chromosomes in half. We make haploid cells, or haploid gametes. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to take this quiz. So as we usually do, spread yourselves out so that you're not next to somebody also taking the quiz. And when you're done, I'm going to have you work on task 5 on your Google Doc called Unit 3 Assessment, okay? Now, some of you aren't done with the previous tasks, so you'll have to do those first. So, task 5 when you're done with the quiz. Obviously, if you have any questions, there's some people in here that can help you. And for right now, pause the video. Good luck, guys. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I hope the quiz went well for you. It's the last quiz of 2013. At this point, I want to show you a final product of what your project is going to look like. You're going to spend the rest of today and the rest of Friday and the following Friday when we come back after winter break working on this project. So here's an example from a few years ago. So take a look and enjoy.
I have freckles. You look like you do because of genetics. Genes are passed down from both your mom and dad to determine what features you have. These genes can only be passed down without meiosis. Meiosis ensures that a baby receives 1/2 of the chromosomes of a normal cell from each parent. For humans, this means that it receives 23 chromosomes from our mom and 23 from our dad to make a normal cell that has 46 chromosomes. This ensures that we keep the same number of chromosomes from generation to generation. Also, it makes us all different. But how do we know what traits we will inherit from our parents? Will we get the freckles from our mom, or be like our dad who doesn't have freckles? Freckles are a dominant trait, passed
Oh.
down from parent to child. This means if you get the dominant gene from your parents, you will have freckles. A dominant trait is represented by an uppercase letter and will always override a recessive one. A recessive trait is represented by a lowercase letter.
Right.
By using the Punnett square, we can figure out the probability of the gene the
Perfect.
child will have.
Totally.
To interpret a Punnett square, you'll have to understand geno and phenotypes. A genotype is the actual letters, while a phenotype is a trait in how it looks on a person. My mom is heterozygous with the phenotype of freckles. This means she has the dominant trait along with the recessive one. But as always, the dominant trait overrides the recessive one. Her genotype is big F little f. My dad is homozygous recessive. His genotype is little f little f. His phenotype is no freckles because he has a recessive gene. I am like my mom. I'm heterozygous. My genotype is big F little f, and my phenotype is that I have freckles. But how does our body actually show the traits that we inherit from our parents?
Wow.
The answer is proteins. After you receive half of our mom's chromosomes and half of our dad's chromosomes, we become our own cell. From there, we can start developing into more and more cells by dividing.
Oh,
Our body
mitosis.
needs to go through protein synthesis in order to get the message from the DNA to create proteins. The key steps in protein synthesis are translation and transcription.
Right.
During transcription, the DNA, which is like the blueprint of our traits, is copied because it must stay in the nucleus where it is safe. From there, the copies can be given to the ribosome by the mRNA. Then, the ribosome can uncode the code and make it into protein.
Perfect.
This is called translation. The proteins are the traits that we have.
Freckles.
So next time you look into the mirror and notice the freckles on your face and any other trait you have, you can think about how our genes, given to you by your parents, play a role in them.
There you go. So there's a really good example of the project. You're going to provide pictures of, let's see, a couple different things. DNA, making proteins, which are your traits, meiosis, and genetics, how you got those traits, or how the family that you created in your story got those traits. So at this point, what I'd like you to do is task 7. So what you're going to end up doing is finding a bunch of pictures about these topics and saving them to your desktop or to a particular folder. Don't just copy and paste into a document. Save them to a folder. Then in task 7, you can actually begin writing your sentences that you'll actually say as you narrate over those pictures. Come Friday, what you'll do then is you'll actually have a recording day. So you'll put all your pictures into a particular program, and I've got a bunch of options for you, and then you'll record over them. You'll tell the story of the trait that you chose. So if you have an iPad, please bring it on Friday. By no means do you have to have an iPad. There's lots of cool programs out there that don't require an iPad. So at this point, you are working independently on task 7. Find those pictures. And I'll see you on Friday. Thanks.